How do we even start a podcast? I don't know.
Podcast!
I'm so excited that we're going to do a 4th episode.
I know, me too. I can't believe we actually made it to 4.
It's so much fun.
It is. Okay, so welcome back to the Disappointing Our Parents podcast.
How have you been?
Things have been just long. I feel like this week has just been so long already and it's only Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. You work Monday to Friday, and like when I was in training, I was Monday to Friday, and I think I enjoyed it more than like I have 2 random days off a week.
Yeah.
Because at least then, like, I don't know, you have 2 days off together for definite, whereas like sometimes I only have like 1 day off, and it never feels like enough.
Yeah, and it's unpredictable as well, like how many, like you don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. We get it, like we get our timetables monthly in advance, which is all right, but I would like it yearly in advance.
Yeah.
I want to know exactly what days I'm doing.
Exactly.
Maybe that is the autistic part of me.
Maybe.
It changes too much.
Yeah.
It's been a really long, like, just time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, time is just blurring together, and it's really been hard.
Yeah.
For people out there that might not be my friend, even though we're pretty sure it's only our friends that are listening, I've had to change rooms this week and it's been a lot. I've been very overwhelmed. And like bringing us onto the topic of this podcast, splitting, if you don't know what it is, we'll get into it, but I've been splitting a lot with the people in this house and like, yeah, people I love, and it's been quite overwhelming for us all.
Yeah, I could imagine. Moving rooms is such a big thing, especially... it was quite sudden, I feel.
It was. I mean, it wasn't, because when we moved home, like, I always knew I was supposed to have that room. But then, like, we've been back for 6 months and I settled in, and it was only just, like, after Christmas, he was like, I want to do this right now.
Yeah.
So, like, the time in itself hasn't been sudden, because I've always known, but there were, like, 6 months where it was unspoken about, where I started, like, putting my tapestries up and like, putting my shit on the... Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but...
Yeah, but you put it to the back of your mind and, like, you sort of convince yourself that it's not actually happening.
Yeah. I do that a lot. I try to just forget things, even though I never forget them, but I, like, actively engage in things to, like, hope that I can forget them.
Yeah, definitely.
And then it never works. I never forget them.
Yeah, and then it's more painful when it actually does happen.
Yeah.
Because then you have to put yourself through, like... It's like the sudden change of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Except you knew it was coming. You just sort of convince yourself it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to go through, like, the 5 stages of grief to process.
Yeah. I do it a lot when, like, for example, like, thinking about, like, when my animals die, like, I think about it most days, and I purposefully do it because I'm hoping that by, like, spreading out the grief is not going to feel as bad when it actually comes, but ultimately it's still going to feel as bad.
Mm-hmm.
I've just spent 2 years crying over it.
Yeah, that's horrible.
This episode we're going to talk about splitting. So for, like, people that don't know, splitting is basically, like, the all or nothing mentality that people with BPD experience. Katie is going to read us a proper explanation.
I am.
Or definition, sorry. Because I think it's important. A lot of people, like, they don't really know what splitting is.
Yeah, and it is hard to explain.
It is hard to explain. And it's like, I was telling my friend about it the other day, like, how people with BPD experience splitting, and like it's a really useful tool to be able to explain it to people we love, to let them know that, like, we're not just being, like, you know, crazy all the time. It's like actually like a symptom of, like, the struggle we're experiencing.
Yeah. So this is a definition that I've found from It's Raining BPD on Instagram.
It's raining BPD.
Yeah, I love that.
It's raining men.
Hallelujah. Anyway. So
keep the hallelujah in. That's amazing, Katie.
Splitting is an extension of black and white thinking. It's the difficulty or inability to see people, including yourself, in shades of grey. In other words, people are either all good or all bad. A change in this opinion can be triggered or happen randomly.
I don't know if it's ever not triggered, even by just, like, a certain thought. Just, like, my immediate go-to is an extreme, and then I have to, like, second guess myself a lot of the time.
Yeah. And it is sort of like both ends of the spectrum, and not the autistic spectrum. That's something else. But like on one side it's white, one side it's black, and like there's never grey in the middle. It's always, this is amazing, this is bad.
I think it's like really important, like the whole like all good, all bad. Like for me, even if it's not as like dramatic as it feels, like even my language will like be like showing that I'm splitting. Like it'll always be like, I always feel like this when I'm doing this, even though that's like not the case.
Yeah. With my mental health in general, I often find like if I'm feeling good, I'll be like, I can't remember really what it felt like to feel bad. So I'll just be like, oh, I always feel like this. Or if I feel really terrible, I'm like, I've never had a day of peace. Like everything sucks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I also use it as an excuse to like, when I'm talking about being suicidal, I'm like, everything is wrong. And like, everyone will be being like, but you had a good day, like literally yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like, it's still so hard to like think about that. There's such a disconnect with it. And like, not even just with like people, but I feel like I split a lot with like things or hobbies or stuff like that. Like if I'm drawing and like sudden, like I'll be doing something and I'll be copying and it'll be going well, and then I'll do something bad and then I'll be like, I hate drawing.
Yeah.
Even though like it's me that's like having the issue and not actually the drawing.
Yeah. I feel like as well with people, like for other people it's really difficult to explain splitting to them, because to us it feels so real, like the emotions that you feel, but to other people from outsiders' perspective it seems so small and tiny, whereas to us it's like everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think this like the smallest thing can trigger it, even down to like someone eating some bread wrong, or like someone like, I don't know, like, you know, when you're eating a sandwich, I mean, you don't because you don't eat sandwiches, but you know when you're eating like, I don't know, a chip and they go for a worse looking chip than what you would go for. Like something like that can honestly be triggering. Or like sometimes like you ever had it when your sock, it falls down when you walk and it like gets bundled in your shoe, and then like I'll like throw my shoes. I'll like bin them, I'll cut them. I'll be like, this is the shoes' fault. I don't want to wear shoes, I want to be barefoot. Let's return to the caveman time. Even though like they probably all died of septicemia at the age of 20 for not wearing shoes and getting infection. But
and it's very just like shoes as your example. All shoes suck. I would never want to wear a pair of shoes ever again.
Crocs.
Oh, I fucking love Crocs.
Crocs don't suck. And
I love Crocs.
Please, Crocs, sponsor us. I don't have a pair. I really want a pair. All my friends have Crocs. They've all got those really cool little like badges
gibbets.
on. What are they called?
Gibbets. I'm sure that's what they're called.
Or gibbet.
Giblets. I don't know.
Like a giblet is what, like a turkey?
Yeah, I think it's a gibbet.
A gibbet. That's so cute.
Yeah.
Because like you've got like the moon and that's well cute.
I know. But I'll tell you, I'll let you in on a little secret. My Crocs are fake.
They look real.
Thanks.
They could pass.
They could.
But Crocs are so expensive.
I know.
Like one of my friends got a pair of Crocs and I think it was like 23 quid for just a standard pair. Not even a heel.
Some of them are more than that.
Yeah. To be fair, they have gone a bit crazy because like who's going to wear the heel?
Oh no, but I kind of like that. Well, not the heel. I like the platform ones. Because I don't like wearing heels, but I like to be a little bit taller because I am only 5 foot.
I'm proud that you made it to 5 foot.
Same.
Katie.
I was so proud when I was told that I am 5 foot.
I split a lot with like how I feel about myself. So like I sometimes will be like, oh my god, like, I mean, very rarely I'm like, oh my god, like I'm amazing. But like so much of the time I feel so negative, and it's just like, I hate everything about myself. Everything is disgusting. Everything is gross. And it's not like, I find it really hard to pick out small things that I like to make like my self-love journey easier, because everything just feels so horrible.
Yeah, and also what's difficult about that is right now in this moment I feel terrible about myself. So even like thinking about times when I have felt good about myself, I haven't. I never have. But like there have been times that I have, but like I don't feel like there has been.
Yeah.
Because I'm not in that mindset right now.
Yeah. And it's hard when other people like so not even just other people, but like even with myself, I tell myself when I was feeling that way, I was lying to myself about it. So if like someone else compliments me, I'm convinced that they're lying about it, because like it's so inconceivable that someone could feel that way about me because it's so negative.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that is splitting or if that is just like bad self-confidence. I just thought, right, so when I was like 15, 16, I had to do a self-esteem support group. There was about 12 of us in there, right? So, and it was like all about self-confidence and how we can like think better thoughts about ourselves or whatever. And like it was honestly the most awkward thing I've ever done. As you'd expect, they were asking a group of people that all hate themselves to like put their hand up and answer questions. No one is. It was just a woman standing there. So who thinks this? No response. Like I actually felt a bit bad for her, to be honest. Like it was so awkward. Like, and then they'd be like split up into groups, and then like no one would talk to each other to get the work done.
Yeah.
So, like, what was the point in that?
I remember I didn't go, but I remember I had to. They wanted me to go on a like social anxiety group therapy course thing, and I was like, "Who's gonna go to that?"
That's just exposure therapy.
It is.
And I can imagine if you did, it'd be so awkward because, again, no one would talk to each other.
Exactly.
You just have the people trying to initiate conversation. It's just awkward.
Yeah.
They're just talking to themselves, like between themselves.
Yeah.
It's like being back in school and they're just talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, what sort of helped with like splitting was like learning about philosophy, because it helped me rationalize like my thoughts a little bit more and putting like words to it, opposed to like just feeling like nothing matters. I was able to be like, okay, like this feeling is nihilism. Why would someone be feeling this? And opposed to just there being like medical like descriptions of like, because that's what like the NHS and everything sees it as. It's like much more in depth, like to why someone could feel that way. And then you could look about like who was writing this, like what did they go through in life? And it's just like, I don't know, it makes you feel less alone.
Yeah, comforting in a way.
It is comforting.
Yeah.
It isn't always a good thing though.
Yeah.
Because like I'll go to the doctors and I'll be like, oh, like I'm not like mentally ill, like here's how I'm feeling, and they'll be like, okay, you don't need the help then. And I'm like, but I do need help. So yeah, not always great.
No. When I am splitting, to help rationalise myself and sort of, you know, make myself feel better, my first go-to response is to turn it into self-hatred. However, that's not good. So sort of bypass that step if you're listening. But I do try and think, I try and remind myself that even though I feel this way now, like I know that I have like different extremes in thinking. So I just try and think to myself, yes, I feel this way now. And if it's like a maybe like a decision I have to make, I might feel completely one way, but I give myself time to experience the other, you know, the other areas, because it's hard to know how I think and feel when I'm constantly changing my mind all the time.
A couple of years ago, I applied to work at PGL, which is like a kids camp, and it was like a couple of hours up north, and I did that, and like it was such a irrational decision. And while I was there, like I was having breakdown after breakdown every single day. I was like calling Kane, like I want to come home, I want to come home.
Was that when you called me and asked me to pick you up?
Yeah, it was. I was like, hey, I'm like 3 hours away, like please come and get me, because I was hysterical. But like everyone just kept saying to me, it will pass, it will pass. And like it may have passed. Like I ended up coming home after 5 days.
Yeah.
Because it may have passed. It just didn't, like.
But for me, like 5 days is a long time.
Yeah.
So if I still didn't want to be there after 5 days, I feel like I could then say to myself, I probably don't actually want to be here.
It felt nice coming home because I did feel instantly better.
Yeah.
And then I was able to sort of tell myself, okay, like for once you were able to like distinguish how you were feeling, like because of the situation, opposed to how you were feeling because of like your mental illness.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, like I feel like I am being so dramatic. And it was nice to be able to feel like I did something that would actually help me and not harm me.
Yeah, and it's validating as well to know that you have listened to yourself. And like I said, I always give it a few days because I need to know that I am fully making this decision for myself rather than just my like extreme thoughts.
However, because like I agree, like but like there are like some things, like for example when I make plans, like I'll make a plan with someone and then like the time comes around and like I don't want to do it anymore and then I just flake. Like I'm such a big flaker.
But I love that about you, Eden, because then when I flake on you, you don't care. But like literally last weekend, I was like, I'll come around on Saturday and we'll record the podcast. Didn't happen. Sunday, I was like, Sunday came around. I messaged you saying, can we just do it on Tuesday? Just like, I just couldn't.
Yeah. I don't care.
I know.
I don't care because I know what it's like, but I do feel bad because for some people, for people that maybe like don't experience it or like who love me so much, like they might feel like I don't want to see them. And it's never not that case. Like, and I do feel really selfish, to be honest, about it because I do think about myself a lot in that situation. Like, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And it's hard to like be like, oh, do these people want me to do it? And then like, I do feel bad, but ultimately I feel like if I was to go, nothing bad would happen. But I like convince myself that if I was to go, something bad would happen.
Yeah.
I think with the whole like black and white thinking is probably the easiest way to like talk about it because it is that whole like, 1 minute I can love someone and then very quickly I can hate them, and then I feel a lot of like emotional dysregulation as well as like what's the word, depersonalization, where it's hard for me to connect with someone because I feel so far away from the idea of love or like closeness with them that it's just disconnected.
Yeah. I think what is difficult with splitting is you can split over something so tiny that to other people it seems really irrational and like doesn't make sense. But to you it does make sense. And it can be so quick as well, which is so hard for other people.
I think with BPD as a whole, so much of it is like the things that sort of like make us upset can seem irrational to other people, which like just causes like secondhand anxiety that they're gonna view it as irrational. But it's like I like explain to people like who don't suffer with BPD that how like for me or like how it feels, it's not just this like one argument that I'm upset about. I'm upset about every single argument we've had in the past 5 years we've known each other where you've done a similar thing, even though it's like not connected. I'm making those like points to connect the dots to like prove to myself that like you are like a bad person even though you're not. It's just like putting all of that on you makes me feel better when I'm overwhelmed. I'm not too sure.
I think going back to what it said online, like it is a defense mechanism because if somebody upsets you, if you hate them or like you feel disconnected to them, it's almost like they can't hurt you in that sort of way, or like emotionally they can't hurt you, even though it doesn't really work like that. Like you are still hurting, but like I think your brain is trying to make you be disconnected so it doesn't hurt you.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt as much, even though it still hurts as much.
If not more.
Yeah.
But the brain is trying to help.
But is it? Because like when I first started disassociating, I would like tell health professionals this and they'd be like, this is a defense mechanism. And I was like, but like, I don't feel real 90% of the time and I feel like I'm floating. Like, how's this good? But like now, like, I do see it a bit more.
Yeah, I feel like for me, especially, there are like two different types of dissociation.
Yeah.
So one type of it is, I hate this, I want this to stop, I feel really weird and horrible. And the other part is like, I am feeling terrible and this is letting me escape from reality. And it's sort of comforting in that way.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like sometimes like when I'm got music on in my headphones, I'll like pick a point on the wall and I can disassociate. And like that's quite nice because then you like, I don't know, it is good to like get your head to not think about everything that's going on.
And I guess that kind of does go back to being in control of like your own thoughts, because when I feel the bad type of dissociation where I feel like really not real and like I'm start freaking out, that's horrible. But if it's like sort of a purpose thing where I'm doing it because I don't want to feel and I don't want to be in reality. It's like control over my own thoughts, so it doesn't feel as bad. I feel like I split more with like objects or like situations rather than people. I think when I was a teenager, I seemed to split with people a lot more. Like my mum, I would often get into an argument with her about things because of splitting. But now I feel like with certain situations or things that I'm doing, I tend to split more with that now. So I can just be doing something and I'm so into it, and then all of a sudden, like, something happens, like what you said about the drawing, and then I'm instantly just like, actually, this is stupid. Like, I'm fucking stupid for even attempting this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's so overwhelming when you, like, are in one of those extremes, because it's just like, it's all hate, all rage. And like recently, like, I've been like getting super hateful, and then when I've calmed down a little bit and I sit and I think about it, I'd get really like upset and depressed that I would treat people I love that way, or treat like a situation I love that way, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to be doing that or behaving that way. And it also just feeds that whole like contradictory mindset of things always having to be like that all or nothing. There's no in between.
Yeah. Some other examples that I've just found of splitting thoughts in BPD is saying things such as, no one cares, I'm a bad person, nothing ever works, I'd rather die, it will ruin everything. Or on the positive side of that, it will fix everything. It's so worth trying. They're my everything. And if that happened, it would be perfect. Like, stuff like that.
Wow. There were so many examples there that, like,
I know.
I just thought of my personality.
Yes.
I just thought it was normal to feel like that. I didn't realise that was an example of splitting, especially on the good side of it as well. Because I feel like when you link it to being good, you don't really, like, associate it with the, like, your mental health as much, or like, because you just assume that being good is being happy. But like living with like hypomania with BPD, it is very apparent that not all mania is good, and not all like being happy and up and euphoric isn't always a good thing.
Yeah. There have been times when I've been sort of euphoric and I'm doing things which are positive, so I don't think of that as being part of a mental health problem. But then I can be doing something else when I'm really euphoric, where I'm like, oh no, this is because I'm mentally ill.
But it like gives me a buzz or excitement in a weird way, like 3 a.m. walks in like dodgy parts. Like I used to do it when I was in Ipswich, and like everyone would be like, "Why are you doing this?" I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing it. It just like it excites me.
Yeah.
Or like getting into like weird situations and stuff.
Yeah. And I feel like with BPD as well, because you do spend a lot of the time, well, I do, and I know you do as well, like quite depressed. When you do feel like euphoric or whatever, it just feels so good to like not feel bad. So it's hard to associate that as part of the illness itself.
Because you don't want it to be.
No, you're like, this is how normal people feel.
Yeah, even though it's not, like, there is a better balance, but it still feels that way.
Yeah.
And like, I would love to feel like that 24/7. I would be so fit. Do you know how many like bouts of fitness I've done where I'm like, get really manic and I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to eat really, really healthily. Week.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. And it's just like, it is just mania. And like you say, at the time, because I think I'm doing something healthy for myself, even though it's probably not that healthy.
Yeah.
It still like feels it.
Yeah. And I also have just realised that I split a lot when I am thinking about food. So like you said, I'll have like stages where I'm like, I'm going to be really healthy. And then literally 2 seconds later, I'm like, I'm going to order a takeaway. And I do that a lot. And it's really frustrating as well, especially because like part of me does want to be like fit, go on runs. And then the other part of me like instantly is like, no, you don't. Like you do not want to be going out for a run. And it's right, I don't.
It's the being in public that bothers me about it. And like having people perceive me in general is why I don't leave the house most days.
Yeah.
Or like as often as I have to, like I just hate, or if I do, I go at night.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I hate it. I hate people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know if I hate people, but like...
Did you just split on camera?
Yeah. But now I'm confused about it. Like, after this, I'm going to sit and have to think for about an hour, like, how do I feel about people?
Yeah.
My mum's 50th is coming up, and if it wasn't of her 50th and it was like her 49th, I'd flake. I love you, and if you're listening, Mum, I'm sorry you're disappointed again. But like I just hate like being out in public again.
And I feel like the thought of being out in public is sometimes better than being out in public.
Yeah. It's like, I think we said on one of the other podcasts, like, the thought of being in Mother Nature sounds exhilarating.
Mm-hmm.
But like getting out the door, and like I hate that because I don't want to be like that. I don't want to stay in all the time. But like I feel so low about like myself. I don't know if it's how I feel about myself or like my surroundings. It's just something about being perceived by people like I don't feel comfortable with, which is also probably my fault because like I've cut my circle of friends a lot to people that I only feel like 100% comfortable with. So like to be with people who I don't feel 100% comfortable with is a lot.
And I feel like one of the hardest things about going out is actually like walking out of the front door. It's like such a hurdle. And when I was in high school, I was a high school denier. I was not going. My attendance was very low. I refused to go most days. And I always used to explain it like, because I would wake up in the morning and I'd be like, I'm going in today. And everyone would be like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you can do this. And I would get to the front door and I'd be like, I'm not going. I can't go. And it was like there was a brick wall and I actually couldn't get through it.
That is probably like a genuine psychological idea though, because like, you know, when you walk through a wall and like a door and you forget what you're thinking, it's because like a door signifies a new beginning. So like when you're leaving the house, similarly, a door signifies something new, something that you like, no matter how much you prepare yourself for, you still can never fully know that you're prepared for that situation.
It's just the second you get to that front door, it's like, I'm really overwhelmed. I don't want to do this anymore.
It's like with my job, I have to go to London like a couple of times a year. And when like I don't start work till 9:15 and they put me up on a hotel that's literally a 5-minute walk from work, I'll leave at 8:30 with like 45 minutes because like the more I sit in my room and the more I think about having to leave, the more worked up I get. That like ultimately I just have to leave. That's the worst part. And once I'm out the door, I like will feel better. It's just getting to that part. And like everyone knows that, like Kane, my mum, everyone they all have known this, but like it's still like different putting it in action.
It's mainly like the anticipation as well. Like you said, I hate waiting around for things.
You were lucky though that your like mum didn't like force you. Like my mum, if I did, I would be like crying at the door, begging not to go to school, and she'd like basically be like, "You have to."
It got to the point where my mum gave up. It started, like, honestly, every morning, like, my brother used to, like, wake up and be like, oh, this again, because my mum would be screaming, I'd be screaming, saying, I'm not going, and then it got to the point where, like...
She just gave up. Yeah.
Because she had work, so, like, she couldn't just, like, stand around trying to get me out of bed, because she was going to be late, and oh my god, I have a story time. This is actually so rude. So... I woke up and I was like, I'm going to go to school today. Got my uniform. I didn't want to go. But my mum was like, just get in the car. I'll drive you to school. When we get there, if you don't want to like go in, I'll drive you home. But at least you've done that part. So I was like, do you know what? Fine. You've convinced me. So I get in the car. I drive to school. I pull up. Who's there? The care and guidance officers.
Care and guidance officer.
They were all there. And I was like, oh, here we go. So they all are like trying to get me out of the car. And I'm like, you literally said that if I don't want to go in, you'll take me home. Mum's like, well, I've got work, so you're going to have to get out of the car. So I'm like, great. The care and guidance people were like, just come in. If you still want to go at break, I'll take you home. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm already here, so I may as well go in. I didn't even go to lessons. I was just sitting in the offices all day. Well, and then it got to break time and I was like, can I go? And they were like, I really think you should stay till lunch. They somehow managed to convince me to stay till lunch. It got to lunchtime and I said, I want to go home. And they said, you really just stay until the end of the day? And I was like, no. You said at break time I could go home. And then, yeah. Anyway, eventually, they took me home in their car. Like one of the people from school. I got in her car and she drove me to my house. I know, I didn't think they could either, but I got home, so I was all right.
You're lucky you weren't like,
abducted.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd have wanted to take me home, to be honest.
Yeah, they just wanted to get you out.
Yeah. Like, I do look back and I do think to myself, like, I feel guilty for how I was at school, but I wasn't, like, naughty. I was just struggling and I wanted to go home.
Yeah. It was weird. Like, I've never really thought about the idea of splitting with yourself, but it's so true. I don't really feel good about myself, but, like, I have such a negative point of view on myself. There's no, hey, this could be nice, or, like, maybe this is nice. It's all just, this is horrible. You are horrible. But then, like, occasionally I'll wake up and I'll be like, wow, I'm amazing. This is a good day. I feel like a good person. But, like, again, like, I thought that was how people should feel.
Yeah, and I've also just thought about that too. And, like, I always overanalyze whether I'm a good person or a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the day, if I do something, I'm like, that's because you're a bad person, you're terrible. And then I do something good and I'm like, you're a great person. Or sometimes I'll do something good and my brain will say, well, actually, you're just doing that because you don't want to be a bad person, but you secretly are a bad person. And it's like, oh, for God's sake. Most of the time, I'm always a bad person. I'm not actually, but, like, my brain tells me that I am.
What is that called when it's like identity something?
An identity crisis?
No, like when you, like, feel like you're not the person you are.
Oh, imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome, yeah, it's not identity at all. I feel like that is also something that's, like, I get a lot. I do things, but not even if it's, like, good or bad. It's like, do I want to do this or not? Like, I don't really know, like, what I'm doing. I don't know if that's imposter syndrome. Maybe I just need help. Like, I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. I don't really know what's going on. But I think that is just because I'm so overwhelmed. But, like...
Yeah. And I think sometimes I get so overwhelmed to the point where I now, after today, realise that I split. And then I start thinking, I don't even want to do this anyway. Like, this is all stupid.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Yeah, I do it with almost anything. If the second I get too overwhelmed, I'm like, I actually don't want to do this. But I think that is just the defense mechanism of, like, I don't want to be overwhelmed and I don't want to be stressed. So my brain is like, actually, you don't want to do this, so let's just pack it in.
I feel like I'm constantly fighting with my brain to do anything.
Yeah.
To be honest, I feel like this has been a long week for both of us. And we're sorry if this podcast doesn't flow as well as the last, but I feel like we're doing well still. It's just, it's been a lot harder this week. I think we're both just, like, pretty exhausted, burnt out.
Definitely. I feel like I'm splitting with the podcast. No, I'm joking. But I'm like...
Not yet.
No, not in that way. I'm just like, I say things and things come out of my mouth and I'm like, you're a stupid idiot.
But that's why we cut some bits.
Yeah, sometimes I am a stupid idiot.
I mean, you're not, but, like, we did before this, we did start another recording and then we, like, got, like, a couple minutes in and we were like, should we just scrap this? Because there were so many points we were like, this needs to be cut. But it just, like, it wasn't worth it. But, like, it doesn't make us a stupid idiot.
No.
Or it doesn't make you an idiot or anything. It just means that, like, I don't know, we're still new to this. We're still getting started, but it's exciting.
It is exciting.
I think there's just, like, with splitting specifically, it's so black and white.
Yeah.
You know, like, we've said our piece about it and now it's like, it is what it is. I feel like everyone experienced it. I have friends who, like, you might not have even heard the term splitting it, but, like, you're doing things that are actively, like, part of that side of it. And it's just, it's a big part of BPD.
It is. And I also feel like talking about splitting as somebody who does split is really difficult because I'm saying things and I'm like, actually, I don't agree with that anymore. And I've just said it, but it's like, oh, it's so annoying. Like, I'm trying to explain what it is, and then 2 seconds later, I'm like, I don't agree anymore. Scrap that.
Throughout the podcast, I feel like is going to be something that people are going to recognise. It's how, like, 1 week we'll be saying one thing and the next week we're probably going to say something completely different. Like, please don't take a lot of what we say as fact. A lot of it is, like, strong opinion.
Which will change overnight.
Yeah, it will.
So this was our episode on splitting. And I feel we have had many different opinions.
And splits during.
Yeah, which will probably change.
You know, I can do the splits, so...
Can you?
Yeah, I can.
I can't. I used to be able to.
Do you want to learn?
Yeah.
Shall we... Yeah, okay. So after this episode, me and Katie are going to, like, teach her... Well, I'm going to teach Katie to do the splits.
So now I can split and split at the same time.
Katie is amazing. I've actually done it before.
I'm like splitting. You're like, actually, I hate this.
I'm just no. Oh my god, no. More just like I hate Kane. I'm gonna do the splits.
It's a good coping mechanism.
Yeah, because it kind of like hurts a bit. Like I'm not as flexy as I used to. I can still do it, but it just hurts.
Yeah.
But like the pain is good. Like, you know.
Yeah.
It like helps me like direct my anger towards it. But yeah, we're probably going to round up now, but thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and hopefully you didn't split too much while listening to this.
I'm hoping this is bearable to listen to.
Yeah. Like we said, we've just been burnt out, and yeah, it's probably not going to be that good. No, actually, no, I've changed my mind. This is the best episode. Yeah.
Should we record another one?
Yeah. But no, we should record another one, but listen to this one in the background, and then we can disagree with everything that we've said.
Reaction video.
Yeah.
when we, you know, have a few more followers, we can do that.
We'll do a reaction to the... Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.